The quaint town of Brunswick, nestled along the rocky edges of Maine's coastline, was a haven of tranquility. Little waves of the icy Atlantic kissed its shores as sea salt perfumed the air. Its inhabitants thrived on local lore and tales of the sea, and among them was a quiet observer, Samuel. Samuel was a man of inconspicuous nature, his middle years marked by the creases on his forehead and a thick peppered beard. His large spectacles, often at the tip of his nose, gave away his profession, a journalist. He spent his days enveloped in the inky aroma of fresh prints, the tapping of his typewriter often echoing into the night. His small wooden house nestled between the residences of Mrs. Sullivan, the town's oldest inhabitant, and widower Mr. Parsons. The silent exchanges he shared with them transcended the spoken word, often manifested in the shape of shared Sunday suppers or an unexpected parcel of baked goods at the doorstep. One day, after helping Mr. Parsons fix his fence, he retreated to his haven, the old leather chair in his study. A fresh stack of Brunswick beacons from the archives sat on his mahogany desk, a hidden world of forgotten tales. He cherished the rustling sound of the old papers, a comforting whisper from the past. His fingers brushed over the faded ink of a long-forgotten edition when a particular headline caught his attention. Ancient Ruins Discovered Underground, Unveiling Brunswick's Hidden Past. An obscure article in the corner of the page, seemingly unimportant at the time of publishing, but it piqued his interest. A rough sketch of a crumbling structure accompanied the news. An ancient hospital, it claimed, was buried deep beneath Brunswick. A strange feeling of familiarity washed over him as he traced the image with his finger. It bore an uncanny resemblance to a place from his dreams, an image that haunted him since the tragic loss of his parents in his childhood. The article was scant on details, its author apparently indifferent or perhaps apprehensive. Samuel, however, found himself drawn to this mystery. His journalist instincts flared to life. He yearned to trace the thread of this story, to illuminate the town's forgotten history. The subtle fear intertwining with his curiosity mirrored the dread he felt in his recurring dreams. He knew he had chanced upon something colossal, and the night was spent poring over the scarce details, a slow waltz with the past. By dawn, he had made his decision. Armed with a silent promise to his younger self, he was to delve into this mystery. Little did he know that the steps he took would lead him far deeper into Brunswick's history than he ever imagined, into a world that would test the very bounds of his reality. And so, beneath the breaking day, he began his descent into the unseen depths, one step at a time, setting the stage for a tale that would oscillate between his quiet life and the looming horror of the unknown. As the sun rose over the rocky beaches of Brunswick, casting long shadows of the steeple and the town square, Samuel immersed himself in the silent symphony of his investigation. The old documents whispered tales of the buried hospital and the lives entwined with it. His fingertips ran over century-old manuscripts and brittle diaries, his mind absorbing their narratives, all threads leading back to the mysterious underground edifice. Conversations began to blossom with townsfolk. The librarian with her knotted hair, who had stories passed down from her grandmother, and the old fisherman with sea-salted skin, who spoke of strange occurrences at sea on the night of a full moon. The dialogue unveiled a forgotten layer of the town's history, a puzzle that he was intent on solving. Beneath the dust of forgotten records, he stumbled upon peculiar symbols. The ink was faded, the patterns intricate. A chill ran down his spine as he recognized them from the ancient hospital sketch. Something connected these symbols to the hospital, a terrifying purpose perhaps, hidden in their esoteric forms. From an old town historian, he learned about the ley lines, invisible channels of the Earth's energy, converging right beneath the ancient hospital. He began to perceive an uncanny pattern. The hospital was not just a place for healing, it was also a nexus, a heart pumping with ancient, unseen energy. His dreams, the symbols, and the ley lines now swirled into an unspeakable realization. The hospital may have been a portal, a bridge between their world and realms beyond human grasp. Each revelation tugged him deeper into the enigma, his mind spiraling into the heart of the mystery. His nights were consumed with feverish note-taking and contemplation, the glow of his desk lamp burning late into the night. He became a familiar figure at the local library and the town's archives, a phantom haunting the aisles of history, threading connections between pieces of the cosmic puzzle. Yet the people of Brunswick noticed only the tireless journalist, not the storm brewing behind his spectacles. They couldn't see the war within him, his journalistic rigor vying with the burgeoning dread. But he knew with each step, he was descending deeper into an abyss that promised astonishing truths and chilling revelations. His reality had begun to warp, threatening to reveal a dimension of horror hitherto unknown. He stood at the precipice of this spiraling enigma. He had one path left to tread, one that led him directly into the bowels of Brunswick, where the physical remnants of the hospital rested. His resolve, as heavy as the Atlantic fog, set him on his path towards the physical exploration of the hospital's ruins. Under the light of the crescent moon, Samuel stood at the edge of Brunswick, his silhouette a dark smudge against the starlit sky. Armed with nothing more than a torch and the weight of his resolve, he embarked on his journey into the depths. Descending into the gloomy ruins was like plunging into the bowels of time. The air grew dense, heavy with years of forgotten histories. Shadows clung to the cold, damp stone walls, where the faint, ghastly echoes of past laughter and sorrow still resonated. A chilling draft whispered along the silent, twisting corridors, greeting him as an unwelcome guest. His torchlight danced upon the ancient stones, illuminating eerie murals that adorned the walls. They portrayed grotesque entities, their twisted forms woven in a dark dance around otherworldly portals. The symbols from his research came alive on these murals, each telling a story far more sinister than he'd dared to imagine. The hospital wasn't merely a place of healing, but a catacomb of secrets. Every stone was drenched in an energy that hummed with a dreadful resonance, every echo seeming to whisper untold tales of horror and fascination. The world as he knew it began to crumble, replaced by an alien reality far beyond his understanding. His journey led him to a monumental archway etched with the familiar symbols. It stood ominous and foreboding, an ancient sentinel guarding the gates of unknown realms. As he stepped through, the world around him warped and twisted, the laws of reality bending until they shattered completely. He found himself in a realm of discordant geometry, where the world twisted into impossible shapes and angles. The sky was an abyss of swirling colors, the stars like gaping eyes peering from the cosmic veil. The landscape was a nightmare given form, inhuman and unimaginably vast. He wandered through the terrifying landscape, his every sense screaming in abject horror. His mind, anchored by the lingering vestiges of sanity, struggled to comprehend the alien reality. Yet he continued his exploration, driven by a combination of terror and fascination. His encounters with the Brunswick locals were replaced by chilling visions of creatures beyond comprehension, their forms echoing the grotesque entities on the hospital murals. Their languages were a cacophony of unutterable sounds, their conversations a symphony of cosmic horror. He understood then the weight of his discovery. The hospital was not just a nexus, but a threshold to realms beyond comprehension. His every nightmare had become reality, a terrifying spectacle of the cosmos in its rawest form. He stood at the precipice of madness, his quiet existence replaced by a disconcerting journey into the beyond, fully aware that his escape would only lead to a life shadowed by the terrifying reality of those otherworldly realms. The otherworldly realm receded like a nightmare at dawn as Samuel stumbled back through the monumental archway. He found himself once more within the desolate ruins of the hospital, the ominous silence a stark contrast to the cacophonous realm he had escaped. The terror of his experience was etched into his every feature, his eyes wide and his body trembling. Staggering away from the archway, he could not help but glance back. The reality of what lay beneath Brunswick felt like a crushing weight on his chest, a burden too colossal to bear. And yet he realized it was now his burden to carry. The journey back to the surface world was a torturous ascent. With each step, he left behind the tangible markers of his horror, the murals, the archway, the cold dread of the ruins. When he finally emerged under the first light of dawn, he found the town of Brunswick unchanged. The tranquility of the place was a jarring contrast to the horrors lurking beneath. Once again, he was just Samuel, the middle-aged journalist living among his unsuspecting neighbors. He walked through familiar streets, past rows of whitewashed houses and the local bakery, its windows fogged with the warmth of fresh bread. Yet nothing felt the same. He saw the unassuming town with new eyes, the veneer of normalcy thinly veiling the unspeakable truths beneath. Every friendly greeting from his neighbors echoed with sinister undertones. Every innocuous town gathering now held an eerie significance. He became a silent specter among them, the weight of his secret gnawing at his conscience. In the solitude of his study, he grappled with the truth he had unveiled. Should he expose the horrifying reality, shattering the blissful ignorance of Brunswick? Or should he bury this secret deep, letting the town live on in undisturbed tranquility? The answer came not in the form of a decision, but in a gut-wrenching realization. The cosmic horror was too vast, too incomprehensible. It was a burden he couldn't share, a secret too dark to reveal. As the days slipped into weeks, his experience morphed into an unspoken tale, a haunting memory that shivered at the edges of his consciousness. He returned to his quiet life, a silent sentinel carrying the weight of an unseen world. He found solace in the mundane, the tapping of his typewriter, and the shared suppers with his neighbors. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, the inescapable horror lingered. He had looked beyond the veil and seen the vast cosmic horrors that humankind was never meant to witness. He lived now in a state of dreadful awareness, his everyday a chilling reminder of the horrors beneath Brunswick. His story ended not with closure, but with an enduring sense of unease, the promise of horrors lurking just beneath the surface. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, show your support with a like and subscribe, and stay notified by hitting the bell icon. Expect more cosmic horror from Eldritch Tales Factory, and feel free to explore our other stories. See you in the next video.